an excellent grade in the exam? Or do I then, go for that dinner party with friends? That's where later on, maybe in the conversation, support system will come in. So to her point about having someone, so having to be there yourself. If I had a spouse or sister or one of my gang or tribe who's able to sit with that child and teach, because this was dependent, it was a high profile dinner, then I'll go for the dinner because I have that support system staying back to help me. But if there was no one, and this was critical for this child, then I'll opt to stay with that child, because for me, family is more important at that point than trying to climb the career ladder. So again, it will boil down to that question: what will break? Will this matter in 5 years' time? If I don't do it with this child and this child fails this exam, again, building on that example that Dr. Rametu gave us, is it a deal breaker for me? In 5 years' time, will that child even remember I wasn't there? And will that child pass that exam? But if I don't go, will I get passed over for this promotion opportunity if I wasn't at that dinner? So when I then determine which is weightier, which is a glass ball, which is a rubber ball, I then make the decision based on that. And if there's time, I can tell you later on about a decision I made that people thought I was a bit cocoa in the head, but it was based on this exact question: what's more important? What will break if I don't deal it at this point in time? This is my view of the matter.
Deep. As you were talking about it, I just wrote down glass balls and why. You mentioned it. Absolutely. Before I go ahead and ask you the next question of my mind, let's hear from Feigene. Please tell us, what's your opinion? What's your view? What would you give? How would you approach this?
I would use my personal experience to answer this question, because I did have a job with a multinational, and there were a lot of opportunities for me to actually move up, or on the ladder. And I also had very young children at that time, and it was already difficult to balance just going to work, getting back home, ensuring that I spent time with them. And then I'm thinking to myself, do I really want to go on like this? I don't even see my kids enough. So I think I need a change here. And that was how teaching really came up. And it didn't just come up as, oh, you know what, go and teach because, well, they close at 2 o'clock, people always think that teaching is easy. It really isn't. And before I was actually able to make this decision, I took a lot of all these personality tests, then I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. I would go online and say, oh, you should be in public administration. Okay, so how does that help me? You should be there. So I was getting a lot of, answers from those personality tests. And I thought, no, you need to calm down. What is the issue here? The issue now is that I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to bring them up, and I think it's important for us to have these conversations even before we get married or even before we start having kids, so that when you are planning, when you are making the decision with your partner, you're all actually on the same page, okay? This means that, are we going to have a maid? You have to have that conversation. So I find that a lot of people don't have these conversations before they start off on their career, and then it now becomes a problem. We need to have these conversations with ourselves, okay? And so I did a lot of praying at that point in time. I did a lot of praying, and then, I said, okay, so what can I do? And then I had a list. I had to write a list of things that I could do, and of course, teaching came up first. And then I thought, okay, all right, so let me explore this area. And that's how I became a teacher, because I really wanted to spend time with my children. And well, I'm still a teacher today, which is all good. Anyway, so I think you put first what is important for you. Now let's flip it. What about, hey, I really want to go for that party. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But do you have a support system that would, help you to do that? Because you really don't want to go for a party with your kids or for that business meeting, So have to ensure that there is a system that you can rely on. And not everybody has that. We need to be very frank. Not everybody has that system. There are so many people who are living in Lagos. Their parents are back home. you know, and you really don't have anybody to help you. So it's really difficult. And I think we need to know that we need to always look at the end in view. What do you really want? If in the end you have reached the top of your ladder in terms of career and your children are not where you expect them to be, it's not a pretty place to be. You know, so we really always to look at the end in view. What do I want? And having your presence in your children's life is, I think it's of utmost importance.
Absolutely. I almost think three of you shared notes. Did you meet before this?
I really want to.
So, I mean, let me just take a bit of reaction from the chat room. So we have Winifred says, you can have it all, not at the same time. Placing the urgent things per time. If you want to succeed, you need a lot of help. You cannot do it all. She's quoting Dr. Rametu. So, is that, Dara says, wow, very encouraging. Thanks for giving that perspective. Need change, what you need change per time, working according to the seasons of your life per time. Party can help my mental states. Dara said, I'll go for the party and help my kids somehow. Always find a way. So I guess this question for Feng has, I think Feng has addressed it. He said, please, could you narrate your life experience in career, family, etc. has been so far having it all. What decision did you make to reach at the stage? I probably think you've addressed it a bit. Right? Or see, you still want to talk about it?
I think I did.
Yes, I think you spoke about it.
I think so far,
Big,
maybe much later I can add a bit to it, I think.
Okay, interesting. I said it from the beginning that this is loaded, a different perspective. So we have the children, we have the motherhood, we have the career, we have the vacation, we have finance. You can have it all, remember, but not at the same time. And Feng sales are not every day. So some days are like Christmas, you just seem to have everything in place. Every of your checklists just goes. So on this note, Binta mentioned something, so I'll go to her first. She said, if there is time, she would want to share an experience. Yes, we have time. Binta, this evening is to spend this with the three of you, so we have time. So please, can you share an experience when you had to choose between a life role and an opportunity? What served as guide in making this decision? In retrospect, did you think it was the best decision with the eventual outcome? So we have time. Tell us the story.
Okay, so I must first swear all of you to an oath that this secret is safe here and you won't go outside of this room. I'm just kidding. But this is me being vulnerable and authentic here, okay, and opening up. I'm not sure I've shared this with a lot of people. But so there was a role that I was moved to, and apparently I was being positioned around, and I was ostensibly a shoe-in for a much more senior executive role, both actually at that point in time. But this was also a time when my son, who was 16 at that time, going on 17, was meant to transit onto the uni, and he was going offshore. And this young man couldn't boil water to save his life. We were still having fights about him keeping his room clean. His afro was this high, and I had a problem with it. We had been fighting over all of that. And I figured if this young man left and went to Canada, which is where he was headed for, I would be unleashing on the world unfairly a child who wasn't prepared to take care of himself. And I probably will be here, hypertensive, one doing over there. And this was me who was supposedly mother of the year. I didn't miss visiting days. I would midterm. I would do homework. People used to wonder how I did it with my high-flying executive, career at that time. But despite all of this, I had this child who had all of it in school, model child, but basic life skills that I thought he did when he will get to Canada, just weren't there yet. And it wasn't because he was a bad child, but boys will be born. And so here was this role. I was going to be announced to this really executive position. It was true, you know, the part was all mapped. It was all done and dusted. It was going to be a matter of regulatory approval because he was that high up. But then he needed to go and pick up, and I'll have problems on my hands. I will be doing him a disservice, and I will not allow that. And so I had to sit down and think, if I had a year of work to just spend it with him, and it was his guy. I took a year of work to spend with him and ensured he was ready. Could I go back to work afterwards, after that 1 year, and be okay? The answer was yes. So again, the question, what will break? What will it matter in 5 years' time? And I asked all of those questions. Is it a glass ball? Is it a rubber ball? But if I did not, and I sent this boy off to Canada, and he couldn't cope while he was there, and I'll have troubles, you know, thereafter. Would something break? Won't I have been a bad mother after all? You know, and for me, it was a hard decision because sometimes when you leave a role and you try to come back to that role, you're never able to come back at that level. Some things would have passed you by, some things would have changed, the system might have changed. But for me, it was a decision. My son's well-being and him moving forward and going better prepared as a young adult to a strange land was more important for me than this career role and this move that I had been positioned for. It was hard, it was difficult. People thought I was crazy. I'd even just gotten a promotion in preparation for that move. And they were like, at this level, you're leaving a bank. How could you leave at a time like that? So it's not everyone you tell this story to. All to them at that time was for personal reasons. Honestly, it was because for me, my son's well-being and ensuring that I didn't unleash on the world, child who wouldn't take care of himself was the singular driving reason for why I left that role. So for those of you, Rosaline, NASA might even tell you about it. If you ever wondered, wasn't this lady crazy leaving that role at that time? This was the reason. Any regrets? Not one whatsoever. My son is a master chef in that time. He can cook up a storm. He can, put together a 5-course meal for you. He can clean his room without issues or me having to shout. We've gotten over the high Afro issue. We can talk about everything and anything now. He's now not just I'm still a mother. I'm still firm, but he's my friend and he can talk to me about everything and anything. And this happened because I took time out to spend that 1 year that I thought was critical for him to go into school and go over to Canada a better person. He's in second year in uni now. He's well adjusted. His grades are fantastic. And so regrets, none whatsoever. I'm glad I did it and I'll do it again if I had to. So that's my secret. And remember, shh, all of you are not.
Yes, we are quiet. Wow, wow, the sacrifice women make. But look at you today. Who would know it would turn out this beautiful?
It did indeed. But it was painful. Rose really chipped that in. Not getting a steady salary every 20th of the month like I used for 13 years or 14 years before that time. Wow. I won't lie, it was hard. But however, the sacrifice was worth it. Yes.
Wow. As you spoke about that, it reminded me of Mary Abby Slaughter.
Yes.
She wrote a co-op, Can Women Have It All? When she had to leave a high-paying job in White House and go back to school because she too wanted to take care of her boys. And people did think she was mad. And in fact, she was the advocate that, no, we can't have it all. But however, I don't want to go to that story because her perspective is we can have it all, but we should know that it will not happen at the same time.
Correct.
But can I say something? Can I say something?
Absolutely, Dr. Rametu.
Yes. So I have 3 points. One is to address the one you just said about Anne-Marie Slaughter, because I also read up about her, well, not read up about her, so I was doing some research concerning this, just to get some global perspectives. And I saw what she had written. And I mean, because of her personality, the clout that she has, political clout, I mean, she's on mainstream media and social media. A lot of people pay attention to what she's saying, and they took it to heart. But I disagree with her, and I'll tell you on what grounds. 2 grounds. One, she's saying that, oh, you cannot have it all, because in her case, she had to leave her job at the White House or in Washington to go to Princeton to be a lecturer. I mean, some people's dream is to go to Princeton and to be a professor. So really and truly, it is about your expectations. It is about what you have, what your vision is about yourself. Like I said before, some people's dream is to work with Princeton or to go to Princeton. But she's saying, I left the White House or I left Washington to go do this. And it looks like for her, it is jumping down the ladder, or for her, it's not the life that she wanted. Do you understand? So on that grounds, I disagree with her, because not really everybody wants to get in quotes to the top of their career. Look at the story Binta just told us. She took up 1 year. It was such a risk. It was such a risk. Anything could have happened. I mean, maybe not being able to get back or not being successful at the next things that you go to do. And then, okay, so that now brings me to your story. Thank you very much for sharing. And really, we're going to keep quiet about it. But I will share what I did. Since this platform, not only are we talking about having it all, but, you know, just sharing experiences so that maybe some young moms or some other people can learn and they can share. This is something I did with all my children. Once you finish SS3, you do a gap year at home. In that gap year, we bond, because, I mean, 2 of them went to boarding school. My first child didn't go to boarding school. So in that gap year, so gap year is you're at home, you're doing SAT, you're doing TOEFL, you're doing all those exams. I don't let them do those exams when they're writing all the other exams in school. It was a personal decision I took, and I said, everybody will do a gap year. And in that gap year, we use it to bond. You learn how to drive, you learn how to cook. I teach you all, I mean, we just learn all the other things about taking care of yourself, taking care of the house, and I mean, just teaching them social skills and different things. I don't think one is better than the other. You do what feels right to you. You do what will work in your system, because the truth of the matter is, what we're sharing are personal experiences and general principles, and the dynamics of relationship with your children from one to the other might be different. Yeah. It might be different. So for her, she took up the 1 year and did that. But again, what I did right now, everyone has graduated. What I used to do is every opportunity I got to be abroad, I would make sure I'm with them. And this was quite often. Luckily for me, I was fortunate. So I would be with them. If I had a major meeting, I would pull everybody there from Canada, from the different places in the US. We would have a meeting together. If it wasn't convenient for the child to come, I would go. So I would see. So it helped the bonding. So that they were away didn't really matter. I can see that my friend has joined, and I'm just going to use hers as an example. So what she does is she brings her children every year. I didn't do that. I would go, and I had many opportunities to travel. So we would see several times in a year. I mean, I'm apart from all the calls that we make. So really, you need to find a system that works for you. You need to manage the expectations. So Anne-Marie Slaughter wanted to be in Washington. That was the life she wanted, but she ended up at Princeton, which is the life some people want. To be a professor at Princeton. So when someone says, oh, you can't have it all, no, I don't agree. You can have it all. It is about your expectations. It is about how you manage it. It is about what your vision is. And it is just about how you put everything to work together for you. When Binta also gave the other example about, there's an example, I can't remember now, but let me just, so what I just wanted to say, at different stages in your life, there are certain decisions you take and it works, while at certain stages, it may not work. So I will give an example of myself. In 2002, I got admission to do a PhD abroad, and it was all expenses paid, everything, but I didn't take it. I didn't take it. My children were very young. My youngest child was 5 then. My oldest was, I think about 9, and the other was 6. And I'm like, no, these children are too young. I didn't take it. I didn't. Then in a few years later, I got, well, I mean, actually applied for the job. So let me not say, well, I got the job. I applied for a job in the US. I got the job, and I spent 8 months in Nigeria struggling with it. I think maybe we have a sound problem. Well, so as I was saying, I got a job in the US, and again, this was in 2009 or thereabouts. I didn't take the job. Why? I didn't have the release to go. After praying, I applied for the job, but they didn't call me. I was the one who applied. But anyway, I didn't go again. Why? Because of the children, because of my spouse. He said, it's okay, you can go. But somehow, I just didn't have the release, and I dropped it, and I stayed in Nigeria. And I know that the question you're going to ask me is, do I have any regrets? Absolutely none, none at all. If I had to do it again, I would still stay here and do whatever it is that I wanted to do. So really and truly, it's all of these decisions will change with times and seasons, depending on your stage in life, depending on where your husband is in his career or in his business, where the children are, all of these count. And as women and as we make these decisions, as much as possible, if you have a spouse, try to carry him along and try to take the decisions that work best for you, for your spouse, and for the children. And well, God helping us, we'll always take the right decisions. I think I'll stop there and wait for the next question. Thank you very much.
I almost started screaming, go, Dr. Oh, I'm so well that both of you had to share your personal stories. Also, Feng shared her personal story to how, in fact, I wanted to comment, but I didn't want to break the flow. Who does it? Because I don't think I would do that, writing out all the things she thinks she can do till eventually she saw that she can actually teach and decided to go with that. Then you having to drop a full scholarship, wow, or having to miss out that a monthly alert for 1 year. There are sacrifices that we make. There are really huge sacrifices that we make. But just like you have encouraged us and opened up your life, you have told us that we should look at what are our expectations, what are our visions, and what works for us part-time. What works for us at a particular time might not necessarily work for another person. So I know somebody said, so I'm just going to go back to the chat room. I remember reading someone saying different strokes. Yes, Enobong says different strokes, I believe. It depends on what is important to the individual, absolutely. For some people, education might be important at a particular time. For other people, it might be family. For other people, it might be job. So the thing is, you alone that can decide what is important for you. Nobody can. So don't come under that judgment zone. I don't want to do this so that somebody will not judge me. So, Feng, do you want to tell us another experience? I know you have shared. Is there another, or do you want to buttress on what Binta and Dr. Momodu have shared? By the way, that PhD that Dr. Momodu missed, she eventually did it, and that's why we're calling her doctor. We have to just shout this doctor. We have to,
awesome.
We have to say the doctor M. We have to keep saying it.
Awesome.
To you, Feng.
Awesome.
Well, I was waiting later to say that, good things do come to those who wait.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Helping us.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
God helping us. It does come, yes.
He makes all things beautiful in his time.
Absolutely, absolutely. He sees the sacrifices we make and he finds a way to compensate us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well,
that is so true.
We met you earlier.
That is so true.
You dropped off.
Yes, I dropped off. Well, I think I want to talk about gifts, if I may, because I've already shared my personal experience, but I want to talk about gifts. I will use the Bible now as a reference point. There was a parable that Jesus spoke to the people about a man who gave talents to one he gave 5, to another one he gave 2, and then to one he gave 1, and then he went away on a trip. And the one who was given 5, he invested it, he worked at it, and he had his return of 10. The one who did 2, it was 4, and then the very silly one who was given just 1 gift did absolutely nothing. Now I like to use those talents as gifts. Every single person has a different ability. For some of us, okay, we are able to do multiple things at the same time. Unfortunately for women, I don't know why we do this. We look at someone else who's been given 5 things and they're working that because God has given that ability to do this.
Does her. Thanks, network.
I think I can do this. Oh, I think I can do that. For another person, it might not be the case. So I think it's important for you to know where your strength is and work that strength. And I think that was the issue that the person who was given just 1 talent had. He didn't look at 1 talent and say, okay, how can I build this thing that my master has given me? Just said, I'm not going to do it about it. Maybe was looking at the others and said, there's no need, But it's important for us to know your strong point and work it. And when you are done with that particular area, just like he gave the first person 5 talents, said, oh, you know what? The one, who did nothing with his, I'm going to add more onto you because you've now built capacity. So I think it's important for us to know that at every stage that we are in life, we're preparing ourselves for something else. So never look down at where you are and say, oh, I don't think I will ever be able to reach this point because this is where I am. Know that where you are is a learning stage and there's always something ahead, because as long as you are on this earth, right, you have a purpose and you must live every day with intentionality because nobody's promised tomorrow. So we must know that, okay, God, this is the gift that I have. What do you want me to do with it? How am I going to affect other people with it? I think it's important for us to know that, because in having it all, we can have it all, but at different stages as the Lord would have us use these gifts. Yes, thank you. I thought I should just...
You have just answered. Let me put it this way: flesh and blood has revealed something to you, or rather, the spirit has revealed something to you. Because I was going to ask you, where does faith come into this? And you've gone ahead to answer that question. Having it all, we should know that is in stages, and most especially in accordance to what the master wants of us. Yes, I'm a big believer in living intentionally because, like you said, tomorrow is not promised. So live today, live the moment, live in the task you have been assigned, in the role you have been given intentionally. So that's a good one, Feng. I completely agree with you, completely. So I will just go in that flow and just ask Dr. Rametu, where does your faith, how does it play in helping you manage these roles? So yes, I heard when you said you had to, at a point you waited, you didn't have peace and you let it go, even when your spouse gave you the support you needed, but you didn't have peace. And it happens for a lot of us. Sometimes we've read through a process. Sometimes we've maybe overly imagined and feel that God is asking us to go into it. Sometimes we even see that when we take this ball, when we take this opportunity, this particular ball, this glass ball would suffer, but we just want to go ahead of ourselves. So I would just ask you, in your experience, you've gone through these processes a 1,000 times. I've not yet started. Where did your role? What is the role of your faith in each of this?
When you say the role of faith, it almost sounds like it is something that is separate from us. Faith is everything. Faith is our life. Everything we'll do, like the Bible says, must be done with faith, must be done in faith, whichever way you want to put it. Because in all of this, it's seeking God's face and saying, what do you want me to do at this point in time? This decision, how do I take this decision? How does it align with what you would have me do, what this family is about, the future that you have planned for me, the purpose for which you laid your hands on me. So really and truly, it's if I'm going to say something and it might sound funny, but it was true. One of the struggles I have, it's fun. That's why I'm even laughing. One of the struggles I had when I was going to go to the US was, yeah. It sounds funny now, but really and truly, I mean, to think now, you can be in church, you can join church online and everything. But I mean, I was so attached to my church here. It was something that was always in my mind. I mean, attached to, I'm like, is it really time to move from here and go somewhere else? Is it really time? But anyway, to answer your question directly, faith plays a very, it's the overarching thing, if you know what I mean. Faith plays the major role because without God, we can't do anything. And it's really about doing as we feel led to do, even in the everyday small decisions. At every point in time, is about taking those decisions in alignment with the leading that we get. So really and truly, it plays the key role, plays the central role, plays the overarching role. And as I mentioned, I didn't have peace. I had even gone and gotten my space. I knew where my office was, opened an account, gotten the driver's license, came back, but I didn't have peace. And I just thought, look, if I don't have peace about this thing, it means, well, I need to sit and watch a while. I stayed for 8 months, it still wasn't working, and I had to give it up. So really and truly, if I feel for decisions, critical decisions like that, that we need to make as in different roles, the different decisions that we need to make, we must pay attention to what the Spirit is saying as much as we can. I mean, I might say this and some people don't understand because there might be people who are not Christians here, or this might be played globally and they'll be like, what is she talking about? But just to say that follow your true north, follow the decisions that bring peace to you and the family. Thank you.
Amazing. I like the fact when you started with that life is faith. Oftentimes I ask myself, if there was no God to believe in, I really don't know how it would start. So I'll just allow Binta go before I go to the chat room and read out the questions.
On the same question, what does faith?
Yes.
What role faith is? Short answer, all the role. It's everything. One of my favorite scriptures, and like Dr. Rametu, I'm a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ unapologetically. And so forgive me, anyone, if I'm not apologizing, but I'm just stating it's just the fact. It's who I am, and I make no apologies for it. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible is Philippians 4:13, and it simply says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so this faith is the be it all and end it all of my existence.
Absolutely.
Him that I live, move, and have my being. If it wasn't for him, I don't know how I would have balanced these roles. So 7 years of my career in financial services, or for 7 years at a point in time, I live in Abuja. Even now, I live in Abuja with my family. I just happened to be in Lagos this weekend. And but my role was a head office role. So it was in Lagos for like the first 8 years or 7 years. And then for like 18 months after, not just Lagos, but all over the place. I had teams in Port Harcourt, in Enugu, in in Kaduna, in Kano. So I had to do a lot of traveling. And I was on the road, Rosemary, every weekend for 7 years back to back. There were weeks when I was on the road and in the air 3 times in 1 week. So I'll leave Abuja on a Sunday evening, come to Lagos and work throughout the week, leave on Friday night or first flight on Monday morning. Do you know the one they call the winch flight? They call it winch flight because it taxis off at 6 a.m. on the dot from the airport in us. So for you to get that flight, get to the airport for 5 a.m., did you know that they could have gotten to the airport at 4:45 and had to wait outside because the gates won't be open until 5 a.m. And to get in, because she must have to be able to be on that 6 a.m. flight. And if you're checking in luggage, obviously you have to be there early. And to get there at 5 a.m. or 4:45, it means I left Lekki or 4:30. Please, did you know witches that are going? That's why it's called the winch flight, okay? But I digress. That's just on a lighter note. But I couldn't have done that for 7 years, back to back. And sometimes, like I said, 3 times in 1 week. I leave Abuja, I come into Lagos, and then the meeting on Wednesday, I go for that important meeting. But then Friday, Saturday is the NPR for those of you who work in the bank, and you can't afford not to miss the NPR. So I'll come back for the NPR Friday and Saturday. And then probably because I had an important Sunday meeting, I'm a mother of a church, I'll have to go back again on Saturday, first flight on Sunday to be in church that Sunday, and I'm back again on Monday. So I had crazy schedule like this for like 7 years. I couldn't have done it if it hadn't been by the grace of God and faith in my Lord Jesus Christ. The only painful part in all of this is that I did not lose weight in that time. I thought I'd be skinnier than Gbinijie Arego. I'm so jealous of Feigene now. She has children and she looks like this. Feigene, this is not fair. I'm going to take it offline and have the conversation with you. Because with that kind of stress, you think I'll be skinnier than, Gbinijie Arego, like I say, but it just didn't happen in all that time, okay? But so yes, back to your question and short answer, faith plays all the role. Without him, I couldn't have done it. It's truly in him I live, move, and have my being. So he's the biggest part of my life. And I'm quick to say it wherever I go, unashamedly. Without Jesus, I'll be nothing. So I hope I haven't offended anyone, but faith, just to answer your question, it's the be it all and end it all. Start, middle, beginning, end of my life.
I just have to take this question. How did your spouse take all these moves?
Yes.
That's from Victoria from the chat room. And if I may add, how did you stay sane 7 years?
I promise.
How did you stay sane? As in, the word sane is what just jumped out of me.
It was
your
crazy.
Friends. How did you? As in, because Binta, please, everybody just loves Binta. So how did you even connect? In my small world, sometimes I get tired to respond to WhatsApp at the end of just one day, work day. How did you? So Victoria asks, how did your spouse?
Good. How did I stay? Let me start from that end. And that's one of the things I'd like to give as advice as well. For those who want to continue to scale up, who want to be able to have it all or have most of it at different stages of their lives, there's some things that are critical and that are just essential. You just can't do without them. To scale up, you will need to have adept multitasking skills. You would have to be a planner. You will have to ensure the support of your ecosystem, your family, your friends. You will have to have that tribe or gang that have your back, your own tribe, the people you go to, your babes, your girls, whatever it is they call it, that you know that you can rely on each other. Rosemary, please pass by and pick up my son from school. I'm not able to. I have a meeting with the big boss. And Rosemary will jump to it and say, Binta, don't worry, I got your back. You have that. There is no substitute for hard work. I'm sorry. No matter how you slice it or dice it, you will bend down and do the hard work. You'll put in your 10,000 hours or 10,000 steps. It is critical. You will have to hone your skills and continue to refine them. Go back to school, get the certification that you need, okay? Knowledge is every 5 years. Before now, they said every 5 years, but now every 6 months. The Apple brings out the new iPhone every 6 months or every year. So it's the same way that changes, that knowledge changes. So you can't rely on that BSc degree that you got 10 years ago or 7 years ago. You need to upskill, you need to upgrade, you have to go for certifications, go back for that MBA, do online courses. You have to remain innovative, particularly in this post-pandemic world. Some of us know that some skills have been thrown out of the window. People are losing their jobs, but you have to evolve. You have to pivot where there's a need to remain relevant and to continue to climb in your business, in your career, even in your marriage. You've got to dig and dong. Your bed cannot remain in the same space it's been for the last 5 years. Move around the furniture. Throw out that underwear that has holes in them. Buy the sexy negligee. I'm shaking some tables here and I can see Feigene's holy face, but yeah, I'll continue. You know, these are some of the things you need to do. Sponsorship and mentorship. I love Dr. Rametu, and it's lovely to meet you, Dr. Rametu, for the first time. I'm going to take offline. I need a mentor and a sponsor, so I'm coming to you for it, okay? And ladies, we need to know the difference between sponsorship and mentorship, okay? Because are the people who will speak about you when you're not in the room and get you those promotions and put your name forward when you're being considered. I've been at moderation circles where someone's name is mentioned and somebody said, who's that one? And so there were 13 names up for promotion. We were told that we have to take just 10. And we debated on it on almost midnight that day. I'll never forget that day. And they said, okay, guys, we have to do this. They're waiting for us. We've got to take just 10 names. So we started looking at these names again. Out of those 13 names, all 13 had been on grade the same years. They had the same appraisal rating. They were, on the same band. So, but we were compelled to choose 10. So someone said, okay, let's look at the names again. And they put up the names. And the first name that came up, somebody said, this Lolade girl that doesn't greet, please remove her name. And I remember shouting and saying, come on, guys. Surely, that's not an objective way of. Lolade did not know why she was not promoted that year, but it was because she does not greet. And they said, so what do you want us to do? We need to take off 3 names and it's almost midnight, we gotta go. And so it became an inobjective way of weeding out the 3 we needed to come to this 10. And that day for me was a profound lesson. But someone who was in the room jumped to her own person and said, nope, this other person, blah, 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 her name stayed. And that person's name stayed. Now, Lolade didn't have a sponsor in the room to speak for her, and her name got thrown off the list. You know what I mean? So it's important to have a sponsor. I can go on and on. What else do you need to do? Exercise for your mental health. And I like that lady earlier on who said, if I need that party, I'll go to the party. I agree with you, my sister. When you need to party, you need to party. Exercise, eat right, engage, go for the party when you need to. Have good, clean fun. Like I always say, do you in Christ Jesus. Very important, do you. There's someone I love on Instagram, Kate Henshaw. She cracks me up no end. That lady is just doing her. She don't send, as we say in Pidgin language. She don't send exercises, that just living life. And I just love how she's doing that. But I would say, do you in Christ Jesus. Wholesome, healthy, wholly unto the Lord. It's important. So all of this helps you with the balance, okay? And then again, like I said, keep, upgrading and upskilling on a regular level. And to the person who asked me, how did my spouse cope? Very good question. And that's why my advice always to young people, if you're not married yet, ensure that the person that you're going to marry is someone who's aligned with your life vision, whatever that is. And I remember seeing a video where Ibukwa Awoshika did an excellent job about talking about who you marry and why it's important. The person should be there to support you, should be your cheerleader, should be aligned with whatever your goals were. My husband, God bless him, has always been more, what's the word? He's always even been more audacious and in his belief for me than even I had for myself. So he said to me a long time ago, I see you at the top, you're going to be MD of a bank and blah, blah, blah. Even me, I didn't have those dreams for myself at that time. But the man kept speaking it and kept encouraging me. And guess what? Even in this time when I was flying back and forth, if I had a meeting and it clashed with a family event, and I go to him, I'm like, honey bunch, this MPR is this weekend. The first thing he says to me, go and do your work. He will explain to his family. He was a hands-on father. Thankfully, his own occupation allowed him to do that. He's a better cook than I am, I'm ashamed to say. So he didn't need to wait for me to come and cook for him. So he was just a hands-on person who supported me and still supports me till today. So it helps. And so that's why it was easy, for me to go on, and not that time was a friction or a source of pain for us. Never, not work, not once in all the 20 years we've been married. He was always supportive, has been and continues to be even till today. Wants me to chase my dreams, will be there, will take the back seat, will give me the resources and will push me. Will be home with the kids while I go do me, because it would help me rise up the ladder. So for you who's not married yet, Biko, again, I say, ensure that the man you want to marry understands your dreams, understands your passion, will let you be you, will be the wind beneath your wings, will help you soar and fly. Not the one who will say to you, sit in the other room or cook me vegetable soup every night, no matter when you come back. You just have to be sure you're aligned, facing in the same direction. It's very important. So to the person who asked that question, by the grace of God, I'm grateful for a good husband and a husband who supports my dreams. That's how I was able to do it.
Wow, Binta. Woo, a lot. Let me not recap. I'm sure we are finding ourselves from all Binta had said. Feigene, I'll come to you. Binta has talked a lot about scaling, even when it's overwhelming. She has mentioned so many things. So let me quickly go to the chat room. You will talk to us about scaling in respect, with all we have, with the overwhelming expectations we have. So, but let me read out some of the things. I will just read it out from the middle. Hi, shaking tables, but I need to hear this. Dara, Victoria says, deep example. Wow. Princess, deep lessons to learn. Oh my God, God really blessed him, because these days we could hear she is not a family person. You're absolutely right, Victoria. About weight. Am I healthiest when my lifestyle is not too fast paced? So I feel you, Dr. Binta. 7 years of fast-paced career. Someone said, so much I'm learning here. And it's a long one, but let me come back to Feigene. So we have, Binta has spoken a lot about being overwhelmed, how you can pace yourself, how you need to get a sponsor, how you need to have a mentor. And truth is, oftentimes it actually feels like it's impossible to have it all. Truthful. We sit ourselves down at those dark periods and actually ask ourselves, who sent us? Who did all this? You know that realization, who all this thing help? Can't I just live my life the way I want it to be? So I know every one of us, we've come to that point. Some of us have given up, like literally, we've thrown in the towel and we don't send. Some of us are still pushing on. So my question is, considering all these faces and its challenge, and knowing that life can be very overwhelming for a woman, I don't want to go about men. It's not, it's not a sexist discussion, but what would you advise young women? So you've passed, for most people here, their kids are still young. For most, they're still on their first job. They've not even done 5 years, 7 years, not up to 10 years. Some of them are looking at that career as being totally impossible to achieve. I doff my cap for Dr. Momodu. I doff my cap for Binta. 30 years, Dr. Momodu? No. You mean some people are just jumping from one place to another. They're just looking for the fulfillment. So my question will, what is your advice? So yes, we've accepted that we can have it all, but it's not at the same time. We've accepted that we have to understand the different stages we are in life. We have to understand what's the glass ball in making its decision and deciding on what responsibility we should take on and what life role we should drop. So what's your advice in all this? How do we even achieve these words that we can? Yes, we are listening. In the past 1 hour, we have what's the word? Hyped ourselves that we can have it all. What's your one advice if you were to sit one of us out one-on-one and say, look, I've been there when I just want to close shop and just leave everything on the table. What would you advise?
I think, first of all, we must know what our purpose is. Purpose is the driving force. Because if you don't know why you are here and what you're supposed to do, you're going to be running from pillar to post. And that's what we find a lot of women doing. And then in the end, we're burnt out. We're thinking, I'm not doing this anymore. But when you are purposed, or you know what your purpose is, even when you are tired, there's something that says, hey girl, move on. You need to move on. Why? Because there's something that you're trying to achieve. So we must know what our purpose is. And our purpose is not the same. I remember leaving my multinational job to teach. And a lot of people thought, are you crazy? Why on earth would you leave? I mean, like, who does that? You know, because I had to take a pay cut as well. So I wasn't getting my housing allowance. I wasn't getting travel allowance. I wasn't getting leave allowance. I was just getting my 90.000, and that was it. That was my pay at that time. But I took it because I knew that at this point in time, I didn't want to. I used to work in Apapa, so I would drive from. So my routine was in the morning. I would make my daughter's breakfast. I would drop her off at my grandmother's house, and my grandmother I was living in Anthony Village at that time. I would drop her off at Lawanson, and then from Lawanson, I would drive to Apapa, and then back again. Ugh, I couldn't cope with that, you know? So I was like, for how long am I going to keep doing this? And, you know, you don't want to. So most times I would come to work, and I just don't want to work because I'm tired already. No, I can't do this. So I think it's important to know what our purpose is. I'm not going to be a Dr. Rametu. I'm not Binta. Fantastic bios, everything, lovely, you know, but am I cut out for that? I don't think so. I'm not cut out for that, but I know exactly what God wants me to do, and God has called me into a special area to teach children God's word and to help teachers know how to do this in their respective fellowships, and which is fine. And I'm happy doing it. I could do it every single day, and I'm happy with it, you know? So we have to know what our purpose is, because that's where we find fulfillment. So we need to take time. We need to pause. I think that's one thing we don't really do. We're living in a fast-paced society. Everybody just wants to drive the big cars. We want to live in Banana Island. We want to take the kids on holidays every single time. But in the end, we're tired. Those things are good, though. Hey, fantastic. But you must understand, if it is in line with purpose, you're only going to end up, you know, at a brick wall. And you don't want to get to that point in your life. So pace yourself, calm down, and think, Lord, what do you want me to do? It's so important. I can't emphasize this enough, but it's important for you to know what your purpose is. It's okay for you to want the best things. It's okay for you to want everything. You just can't have time. And so I'll leave it there.
So I really would like to emphasize what you said. Know your purpose. Know that one thing that God wants you to do part-time. So before I move on to Dr. Rametu to give us an advice, I would like to read a question from Oge. She says, how does one know when you have learned the lesson at each stage? What defines it? How does one handle the feeling of being in a vicious circle of the same stage of learning? Oge, I feel you. I think I've been there. So, but Dr. Momodu, can you answer this question? How do you know you've learned the lesson at each stage? How do you handle that feeling of being in that vicious circle? Looks as if you're not growing, you're just in one point, and frustration sets in, real one.
Thank you, Rose. Before, in answering that question, I would like to not take us a bit back, but just to follow what the last speaker said, which is talking about purpose. And I would like to put it this way: self-mastery. Self-mastery. You need to know who you are. You need to know whose you are. You need to know what you're about. You need to know where you're going. And you may not have total clarity, even though this is very important, because to achieve balance, you must have clarity, because it's from clarity you make your decisions. And you can even call that ABCD. It's a takeaway from today. Achieve balance through clarity, and which affects your decision making. Because when you have self-mastery, you would know when you do not have to. So for example, I'll give this example, and I've given it in some other places where I've been given the opportunity to speak. A lot of times, because we have so many roles and responsibilities flowing into each other, it may get overwhelming, like Binta was saying. But what is important is one thing that is very important is for us to prioritize. You need to prioritize whatever it is that you need to do. You must prioritize. You need to know what is important. Set the different things that you need to do. You need to set boundaries. You need to know when to say no. You need to know what to do at every point in time. And then also, you need to know who you are. So when I say who you are you a morning person or are you an evening person? Some people wake up in the morning and they're strong and they're going and going. So you need to understand that about yourself so that you can do the critical things that you need to do in the morning. So if you wake up at 4 a.m. or at 5 a.m., so you wake up and you do the things that are read. So is there a book you need to read? Is there something you need to write? Is there some work you need to do? Maybe cleaning the house or getting the things ready. And then we can even go as far as talking about, when we say prioritize, we also talk about time management, managing your time. If you're managing your time, so there are times to do certain things for the family. There are times to do, whether it's cooking, how do you get about it? You're buying bulk things. How do you arrange things in the house so that it's easy for you? You must be organized. If you're not organized, you will keep going around in circles. I wanted to say this because you're saying, how do you know you have learned? For you to have learned, you would know when you have learned, because you will not have to go through that lesson again. If you lose your keys, if you keep losing your car keys or your house keys, after a while, you will know to keep it in a particular place. So maybe the generator house or maybe a particular store. You will keep the keys somewhere so that next time you don't have to look for it. You can simply say, John, go to so and so place and get the key to that store so you can open the store and get what we need to get. So there's self-mastery, there's prioritizing, there's being organized, and also as you have to manage your time. When you do all of this, it's really going to organize you, and you will learn the lessons faster. You will know when you've learned the lessons. Like I said, you will not have to take the test again. Let me put it that way. You know you have learned the lesson when you do not have to take the test again. I will go back again to the role of faith and prayers. I like the example that Binta gave, because that example, it's a fantastic example. And I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people, because it has even happened to me personally. It was later they told me, because that's why there's a prayer point I pray, which is that God will raise voices, whether it's for me or for my children in crucial places. Because it may not, okay, so somebody didn't know Lolade and then someone knew someone else. But it may be some international place, you wrote an application and you wrote something and nobody knows anybody. So it is your prayers that will help and raise voices for you. So it's important that your faith, you grow your faith, that your faith is strong, and that your belief system, I mean, I say this again, because as I said, there may be people on this live stream who are, I mean, we all have faith. Well, this is Nigeria, we're Nigerians. Everybody has someone they believe in, or somebody they call God and they believe in. But whatever it is, you must pray that prayer, that the voices, you will have voices, God will raise voices for you in crucial places, or that help will come to you. Without that, all these things we're talking about is all stories. You cannot do it. All of these things that I said, we all look like we've achieved from, if you listen to what everyone is saying, from what Binta has said, from what Feigene has said, and from what I'm saying, it is that God is helping you. It is that God has raised helpers for you. It is that there are voices that are speaking for you, whether it is in prayer, whether it is in other resources that they give to you, or you're sending your child to your grandmom to help you, or taking it to your sister-in-laws. All of this is about helpers, is about people, like Binta said, a community, a tribe that will rise for you. So we need to grow these things. We must be intentional about growing this thing. We must be intentional about knowing who we are. Am I, like I said, a morning person? I'm not very good in the evenings. My husband said after 9 o'clock that I'm not useful because from 9, when he's talking, I'm falling asleep. So everything he said after 9, you have to repeat it the next day. And he says to me, can't you remember I said it? I said, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I said, but you were, I said, well, I'm after 9 o'clock, so we don't have serious discussions after 9 o'clock, so that is very important. And then again, I would like to reemphasize this. This is very important. If you're not married and you're on this live stream, please marry the person that will support you. Marry the person that will see the genius in you, the one you cannot see. Marry the person that you will not have regrets. You're going to say, how do I know? There are many ways to know. Read books. Follow Trendy Moms. She tells a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories, and you can learn many things. Because I'd also like to say here that I don't think I would have achieved most of the things that I have done without my husband. I don't think so. Even for my PhD, he will sit down, he helps me to review papers, different things. Is it masters? My masters was long ago. It wasn't the days, there was still NEPA and you could still have light. He will sit with me. So then we didn't even have a generator. So when there's no light, I put a lamp or something there, and he's sitting at the table with me. And well, he says he's helping me read, even though sometimes he used to disturb me because I'll be like, go, but that was his way of saying, I'm supporting you. He stays at the table, he stays awake with me, all of that. So it's very important that you have a supportive spouse. If your spouse is not supportive now, cultivate him. It can be cultivate him as much as you can. Cultivate and cultivate the people around you to help you. It's very important. We cannot do it alone. It's not possible. It's not, you shouldn't even do it. It's not, we can't do it alone because you're going to be hurried, you're going to be spread thin, and you will not achieve what you're going to achieve. No, so I don't know if I'm going to have an opportunity to say words again, but just to put this point out there, marry somebody who will support you. If you're already married, cultivate your spouse to support you, cultivate your friends, your siblings, people around you. Those days, I've said it before on one of my talks in Trendy Moms. Anybody who comes to my house, they know you have to help me, but I will give you every support you need. You will eat whatever it is you want to eat. I will give you money if you want, but you must help me do things, whether it is to clean the house, whether it is to cook. I mean, I cultivated everybody who came around. And Ibukun Awoshika has also spoken about this, how her mother-in-law stays with them, you know, and all that. Now her spouse, whether goes to bring the child from work, from school. So all of this is important. Build a system that helps you. Accept who you are. I think this speaks to what Faye was saying about the 1 talent, 2 talents, and 5 talents. We all have different pathways that God has carved out for us. Find out what yours is and stay on it and work on it. I saw someone on the live stream in the chat box saying she must have a house in Banana Island and she must do all those trips. Absolutely, but know that you're going to work for it. It is not just going to come. You're going to work for it. And remember, the more you want, the more work it is. So get ready for that. So get ready for that. You're going to do more work. So, and sometimes some of this work might take you out of the house. So get ready. You need to take the decisions that will balance all of these so that you will live a life of no regrets. You will not live a life where you have all of this and then you have children who you will not be proud of, or that in old age is either you have sorrow or that you are now working to put them right. I mean, look at Binta. She took off a year. I don't even know if I'm as bold as that, but what I do, which is why I spoke about the gap here. So please, this is important. Self-mastery, keep developing so that you're relevant. Manage your time, manage your stress, your health and your well-being. It's very important. And let's live a life of no regret and have fun. Take out time to smell the roses. It's important. Have one day where you know everything is on the low, not hurried or harried. Thank you very much.
Go, Dr. R. So much to take in. As in, I don't even know where to start. I don't know where to grab. It's so much to take in. But I mean, you've given us so much. Peter, I'm waiting for your blow. As I am so filled today, and I know everybody here. So I was trying to launch a poll for whatever reason it's not coming up. So, but as Binta gives us her words of advice, advising the young women we want to scale. We don't want to be like Binta. So now let's not take your talent. We don't want to be like Dr. Rametu, or we don't want to be like Feigene. Let's not take your own talent. God has given us that talent. Our goal is to multiply that talent, to have it all at a different stage of life. So as Binta gives her last words of advice, can we put on the chat box if you're sure that you can have it all? After listening to this conversation for this number of minutes, are you now sure that you can have it all? So when you go out tomorrow and someone tells you that you're a lady, you can't have it all, you would say with so much affirmation, I can have it all. So Binta, why you advise us? Let's have that conversation going on in the chat room.
So I guess the last thing I'll say will be the G factor. And by that, I mean the God factor. I'm not going to assume everybody on this call is a Christian believer. Like Dr. Rametu said, you do believe in something, whatever it is that higher power is for you, okay? But you need to look outside of yourself and know that in having it all, it helps when you have a higher power. Let me use that phrase. In this case, for me, it's the Lord Jesus Christ. To just rely on that person, because there are times when you can't find your way in all of this. There are times when the dishes will pile up in the sink. There are times when this ever-loving, supportive husband just isn't there for you to lean on. He's dealing his own issues or he's out of town. There are times when your tribe or your gang is not available. There are times when money will run low. There are times when you've got that shitty, pardon my French, boss on your case, because that happens as well. We have those situations in offices. It's a very real thing, so let's not shy away from it. But those things do happen. There are times when everything just seems upside down. So what do you do at times like that, okay? You can try everything. You can take the deep breaths. You can speak words of affirmation. And I'm just trying to keep it real here. But it just ain't working, okay? So what do? Long and short of it, you turn it upside down, inside out, shake it up and down, jump up and down, what can you do? You just must trust in God. And that's why for me, that G, when I say the G factor, it's the God factor, because it's only him who can sort you out at the end of the day. Self-mastery might fail at some time. And I'm not, I'm just saying generally, I believe in all of these things. And thank you, Dr. Rametu, you are amazing. Like, oh, by the way, there are two of us who are coming to you for mentoring and sponsorship. Someone else is joining me to see Dr. Rametu after this, okay? So I love Dr. Rametu. I'm so glad I've met you today. And Feigene, you're fantastic. I love you both. And I'm hoping that I will build this relationship after this meeting. Thank you, Rosaline, for bringing us together. I love this fantastic women. So I was saying that all of this, everything we've talked about just might fail at some point in time. What do? You come to the end of yourself. Your friends can help you. They're dealing their own issues at that point in time as well. So you're on your own. Amen. It's just you. What do you do at that time? You just must turn to God. So my last words will be to say, hold on to God, okay? People will fail because men, with all their best intentions, and no matter the love they have for you, are still men. At the end of the day, it's only God who never fails, who never leaves you in the lurch, who's always there, come rain, come shine, come hell, come high water, okay? So you must hold on to him. You must have God as that stabilizing force in your life. It's he who will give you balance all through the seasons, the twilight of your life, your summer, your winter, your spring, whatever shape and form you're in. You have young children, you are in the middle age, you're aiming to, retire, whatever phase of your life. It's God who's that constant that you might rely on. And it might sound like a little sermon here. I'm not preaching, I promise you, I'll shut up in a short while. But just to say, he is really the balance. And with him, you cannot go wrong. And while you're doing you in him or in yourself, enjoying the things you do, hanging out with your friends, eating out when you want to, please intentionally on a daily basis. If there's one thing the pandemic has shown us, it's the fact that it's promised you tomorrow. This White Swan event was out of the blues and no one saw coming. Well, except for Bill Gates. Apparently, Bill Gates had predicted it a while back. Nobody took him seriously, okay? But other than that, he just came and he shook and rocked the world. So it can happen to anybody at any time. And recently, in fact, today, if you permit me to digress a bit, I visited someone early this morning who buried her husband on Friday last week. His birthday was the 22nd of May. Mine was the 23rd. So I spoke with him on his birthday, called him, prayed with him. On 23rd, which was Sunday, he did the same with me. And then on Thursday morning, someone calls me and tells me he's gone. And I'm like, I spoke to this guy literally hours ago, okay? Don't tell me he's gone. How can he be? But anyway, he's gone. And I saw her this morning, still in a funk, just thinking about all of that. But the message it drove home for me again. I mean, death comes. We've seen it happen over and over again. The pandemic has shown us that. But it can happen to anybody at any time. So live intentionally, live in the moment. Don't live until tomorrow what you can do today. Have good, clean fun on a daily basis. Wear your best shoes now. Don't wait. Break out your best glasses, all the crystal you've been saving until that. The perfume that you're holding on to until today is that day, ladies. Out, do you have fun, lose weight, eat the ice cream. Birthday calories don't count. Like I always say, just enjoy and do you. Yeah, laugh, Rosaline. I'm speaking from my because it's the truth. There's not some highfalutin, some utopian existence that we should be aiming for. Let's leave it in the here and in the now. While we have it all, or while we desire to, while we chase after the brass ring, while we want to get that C-suite, let's also be careful that we don't climb the ladder and get to the top of the floor and realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Be sure that that's where you should be. But while you're having it all today, please enjoy the moment. Do you live life and have a good one while you're at it. Thank you so much. I know I've gone on quite a bit. I just had to pour out my heart. Thank you.
We just love hearing, listening to you. Feigene, do you want to say the last word for this session? I just can't have enough of all of you. So I mean, I'm just tempted to go on and on, but time is warning me. You want to say a last word?
You know, just live, just live. You know, just live. Don't ever do the things that you want to do. Don't let anything stop you. You know, don't think about, oh, I'm too old. Oh, I'm too young. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. No, just do what you want to do. Just live your life to the fullest. Wear those shoes. I like that.
Thank you. Yes, she's hitting us under the belt. She knows we keep those shoes that we keep for God knows what time. Oh, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful session. So I like everybody to tell Binta, thank you, Dr. Momodu, thank you, Fen, thank you. And it's been a free session. I mean, if we're going to pay for all these pearls of wisdom, I don't know how much we will pay. I like us to live with this understanding that we can have it all. Your mind is capable of achieving anything and everything it's set to achieve. And like I always put on my signature, live intentionally. Absolutely important. Touch everybody's life you pass through. And for all of you looking for a mentor and sponsorship for Binta and Dr. Momodu, please be informed that you have to pass through me. There's a registration form and there's a list of requirements you have to meet. I'm just kidding. So reach out to the people you want. There are people you've admired. You want to talk to them to be your sponsor or mentor. Go ahead. Let nothing hold you. It's either a yes or a no, but go ahead. So let's know that nothing limits us except ourselves. Let's know that we can have it all at the different stages of life. Dr. Momodu has blown us away, Binta has blown us away, and Feng has given us a lot to chew upon. So thank you so much. It's been an amazing session, and I'm so thankful for this great women are giants. So Feng, you've joined the Giants group. So if I address you as Trendy Mom Giant, Feng, you understand what I mean. So thank you so much. We can all have it all. Let's just go and leave it now. Next month, we'll be having another edition of Trendy Mom Talks, and I look forward to having every one of you there. We are at Trendy Mother with a double R on Instagram. We are www.trendymother.com.ng. Like Dr. Momodu rightly mentioned, we have blog posts that are written by real women expressing their abilities, their issues, and how they went through it. They are real life stories, more like that we can learn from, and they are also their tips and humorous versions of them all in. So please, you can join. You can go to our link and also read the story. So it's been a wonderful session. I know we've overshot our time, but we also agree that it's been worthwhile. So this is me wishing you a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for joining us. So I'll just end with playing some soft music and allow us to socialize. So this is your time to hit up Dr. Momodu and Binta and Frank and any other person you see that you want to connect with over soft music. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you, Ben. Have a good evening.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. You had an amazing time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
It was
you.
worth every minute. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Rametu, for inviting me.
Thank
It was
you.
fun. Thanks.